Sarah Olding, and I have taught English at Sidney High School for 16 years. It's been awesome. I've had a lot of your kids in class, and it's been a lot of fun. I've also been teaching dual enrollment for 7 years, and I think because I'm now one of the older staff members, I have had the luck of working with the guidance department and trying to understand some of the new College Credit Plus legislation. The first thing I want to say is that I think it's absolutely awesome that so many parents are here with their kids. So yay for Sidney High School, because this is really great for a teacher to stand here and look at all of these parents who care so much about their kids and the programs that we are going to be able to offer. We have a presentation here, and as you can tell, we did not predict the overwhelming attendance tonight, and that's an awesome thing. So what we're going to do is link this on our website. It's just a Prezi, it's public, you can get to it. But basically what we're here tonight to do is to share with you the changes in College Credit Plus. And for those of you who are aware of what College Credit Plus is, College Credit Plus is taking the place of the dual enrollment and the PSOP program. Now for you, if you've had older children who've already gone through these programs, it's going to look almost exactly the same. On our end, it's going to look a little bit different. And if it's okay, I'm going to click through this just so I don't forget to say anything, because this is how I organized what I wanted to remember to say. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you're going to click through it, Mr. Jackson. College Credit Plus is what we refer to as a way for your student to get college credit while still during their high school years. And historically, there have been 3 ways to do that at Sidney High School. One is through advanced placement classes. And when we click through this, you'll be able to see all of the advanced placement classes that we offer. We offer more advanced placement classes at Sidney High School than any other school in the county. We've had a long history of success with our advanced placement classes. The trick to getting college credit with an advanced placement class, typically, is by taking the AP test. At Sidney High School, a lot of our You got me on here, okay. At Sidney High School, a lot of our AP classes intersect with our dual enrollment classes. There's advanced placement. I know you can't see all of the advanced placement classes, I apologize. So advanced placement, one way to get college credit. Second way, historically, has been through dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is where your son or daughter stays at Sidney High School, in the classroom at Sidney High School, and takes a class with a Sidney High School teacher who also functions as an adjunct faculty for Edison Community College. And so that's what we historically have called dual enrollment. The third way to get college credit was through what most of you who've had children who've gone through Sidney would know as the PSOP program, or the Post-Secondary Enrollment Option Program, okay? That's where your son or daughter would leave Sidney High School, drive to Piqua, take classes at Edison, but they would still be functioning as a Sidney High School student. The great state of Ohio has taken the PSOP program and the dual enrollment program, and they have renamed them College Credit Plus. Does that make sense so far? Kind of? It's a lot. All right, here's the biggest change in College Credit Plus. The Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 3365, has dictated that local school districts will now pay for college credit. So, those of you who have had a son or a daughter who've been through our dual enrollment program and who have paid per credit hour, you can get quick to the next one. What this will now look like at Sidney High School, there will be no associated costs for college credit for students who meet the college credit criteria, who register for classes and successfully complete college courses during the academic year. There will be no more cost associated with that as long as they successfully complete the class. Does that make sense? So far, so good? All right. So we thought maybe you'd want to hear a little bit about the registration criteria. I see some people who are going to have seniors in high school next year. I see some parents who I know are going to have freshmen in high school next year. The state of Ohio mandated us to have a meeting to explain what College Credit Plus was so that you would be educated about the program and about your options. So don't worry about writing down all of the criteria. We have, Belinda's going to talk to you. Belinda Bogart from Edison is going to talk to you here in a minute. We'll have all of this on our website. We just wanted the opportunity to gather to make sure that we had the opportunity to roll out an introduction to some of these changes for you. So registration criteria. 1, in order to take a College Credit Plus class, that means either here or at Edison, a student needs to pass the Compass test, which is at Edison, or a student needs to have an 18 in English or a 22 in math on the ACT. So those are 2 of the criteria that have to happen. Well, 1, you have to do one or the other. Next, students and parents must attend the state mandated informational meeting, which you're doing, so you can check that off the list, because that's tonight and you've already done it. If you know someone who wants to participate in the College Credit Plus program who couldn't make it tonight, there's a makeup meeting February 20th at 10 a.m. and again, that will be on our website. The next criteria, if your student wants to participate in the College Credit Plus program for next year, you have to complete the intent to participate form and you have to deliver it to our guidance office via your student or some other method by March 27th. This is not a Sidney High School deadline, this is a state of Ohio deadline. We have to know how many students, and the state of Ohio wants to know how many students intend to participate in this program for next year. A parent over here that I spoke with earlier said, well, what if my son or daughter is in the dual enrollment program this year? Do I still have to fill out an intent to participate? And the answer is yes. Any student who is taking a class next year for college credit needs to fill out an intent to participate form. Does not have to be done tonight. You can do it anytime before March 30th. It's a very, very simple form, and we have copies tonight if you think you're ready for it. Next, all high school students must attend the mandatory Edison Community College orientation. Tonight's meeting does not count as that. Belinda's going to talk to you in a minute about that orientation, and she's also going to share the dates for that orientation. The dates for the orientation aren't until April or July, so don't stress if you're wanting to participate in the program. Okay, I have a friend here who's going to help me talk about this, and her name is Mrs. Leasty, and she is the phenomenal math teacher here at the high school. And we want to talk to you because we service a lot of the College Credit Plus students. So we'd like to talk to parents for a minute and students about considerations for participating in College Credit Plus. The first thing that we think parents need to know about this program is that your student needs to be ready for a college class, and not just because they scored an 18 in English and a 22 in math. But they need to be ready for increased rigor, and they need to be ready for less instructional guidance because of the accelerated pace of the class. We're bound to the college syllabus, so there's not a lot of wiggle room in a College Credit Plus class. Classes are designed to be an entry-level class, not a high school class.
One of the biggest problems I encounter with kids who come into dual enrollment AP courses of any sort is our rigor is much more increased than a high school typical class, because like Sarah said, we are bound by Edison requirements. We are bound by the national AP requirements. So it is a almost slap in the face for some students when they come into our courses, and it is fast-paced. And we do expect a lot more of our students. So she was right. We have to make sure that our kids are ready for those courses. Just by getting an 18 or a 22 doesn't make you ready. You have to be ready for the challenge of a dual enrollment or an AP class. You want to talk about the scheduling. Another problem that I've encountered with kids who want to go to Edison and schedule is sometimes Edison's schedule doesn't coexist and mesh with our Sidney High School schedule. So I have some kids who miss a day or two of my classes because they have to be at Edison. And that's hard for them because my class is already a difficult class and they're missing part of it to go to Edison or to go along with all of these other courses that they're taking. So there are some challenges, but we have a lot of success with our program, and we have a lot of kids who do really awesome with it.
The next thing to consider is scope and sequence. First of all, we have to meet the Sidney High School graduation requirements, State of Ohio graduation requirements. Our dual enrollment classes are linked primarily to junior, senior classes here. It doesn't mean that you couldn't go to Edison before then, right? But primarily here, they're linked to junior and senior classes, and your guidance counselors, when your students are scheduling, can help them out with the scope and the sequence. Just because your child, the point we're making is just because your child scores an 18 in English doesn't mean they can take Comp 121 at Sidney High School their freshman year. They have to take freshman English to meet the Common Core state standards, then sophomore English, then junior, and so on. Okay? The other thing to consider is if you do have a student who's interested in going to Edison, transportation is your responsibility, not the school district's. And sometimes that works for people and sometimes it doesn't, but it's something to consider moving forward. The blending of schedules, like Mrs. Leasty said, may reduce opportunities at the high school if you're trying to blend. Not always. I've seen it done year over year and it's worked out great, and sometimes it doesn't, but it's something to consider in the big picture of what your child wants to accomplish at the high school. Blending of calendars is always fun for the seniors when they realize that Edison's spring break, Sidney's spring break aren't the same week, and so they have to go to class and they don't get a spring break. That's something to consider as well. Another thing that has been an issue this year was if Sidney High School cancels class, but Edison doesn't, they still need to show up to their Edison class. And finally, the state mandated deadlines. In the past, we've worked in conjunction with Edison, and we have a great relationship with Edison. Valinda Bogart, who's going to speak in a moment, is fantastic at what she does. But we sort of have had to relinquish control, all high schools have, to the state. We are on state mandated guidelines, or deadlines, not our own. I'm going to turn it over to Valinda to share a little more about Edison.
All right, I am one of Sidney's biggest cheerleaders, as you could tell earlier, when I was the only one cheering. Come on, guys. All right, you know what? There was one thing that came to mind as Sarah was talking that I think a lot of you don't know, and that is the dual enrollment classes that you have here at Sidney High School are enough, or almost enough, that you can earn an Associate of Science degree from Edison before you graduate from high school, not even leaving this campus. There's just a couple of classes. What are they?
Humanities and Communications.
Humanities and Communications. There's just a couple of classes that would lack in getting that Associate of Science degree. But you can come to Edison during the summer or in the evenings, get those two classes done, take your what we call the dual enrollment model previously, take courses here under Sidney High School's teachers, and get an Associate of Science degree before you graduate from high school. Okay, you would graduate from Edison first in May. All right, so that's one thing to consider. Other things to consider are And we have some handouts up here that we'll get to you later, but Mrs. Oden talked about qualifying, how to qualify. You can take online classes as well. So if you're interested in online, and you could do the dual enrollment classes here and take online classes. That way you never really have to leave Sidney High School and travel to pick them up. There is an online readiness workshop that students have to take if they are taking an online class through Edison for the first time. There is no fee for that. There are no fees whatsoever. There's no application fee or anything for the dual enrollment program or the College Credit Plus program. We're still getting used to this terminology. The online readiness course is online, and it's 1 week long. You guys grew up with technology. It's not going to be very hard for you to do that at all, that course. The credit awarding is a little bit different. For those of you who were in the PSOP program, you'll know that it took 5 Edison credits to equal 1 Carnegie unit here at the high school. That has changed a little bit. It is now only 3. Okay. So 3 credit hours will give you 1 Carnegie unit here. You do need to take the ACT or the testing date. How many of you have done the ACT already? Okay, good. A few of you. Okay, so if you have qualifying ACT date or scores, you just send that in with your application and your high school transcripts. And then you'll hear from us in a couple of weeks as to whether or not you've been accepted into the program. Now, for those of you taking the Compass test, you place into college level on the Compass test. We have testing dates set aside. There are 4 dates. They are on Saturdays. Okay, and it's on this handout that you'll get. March 14th and the 28th. There are 3 sessions on each date. And then April 18th and the 25th. And those are at 8 a.m., 10:30 a.m., and 2 p.m. As Mrs. Oding mentioned, orientation is mandatory. We have you come to orientation because, number 1, that's where you get your username and password, okay, and your email. Because you'll be needing those. That's how Edison will communicate with you, because you will be a college student, okay? The other thing that, the reason we have you come to orientation is because that's where you will be registered for your classes. So if you do not come to orientation, what happens? Or what doesn't happen? You don't get registered for classes, right? Okay, so you have to come to orientation. We want you to help you get off to a good start, and coming to orientation will give you those tools. All right, what have I missed, Mrs. Oding? Oh, thank you. Lots of enthusiasm in the room, I can see. All right, so I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Oding. Thank you.
We know that you're going to have a lot of questions about the program. And tonight was designed just to be an introduction and to roll out basically the fact that the funding for College Credit Plus has changed. And those of you who have middle schoolers who are coming to the high school in the future, to educate you on all of the options for your future Sidney Yellow Jackets, because there are so many great things happening here. There are sign-in sheets on every table, and it looks like most people walking around have had access to a sign-in sheet. We would really like them. We need you to sign in, especially if your child's going to participate next year. We need evidence of parents attending the meeting. And the other thing, not mandatory tonight, but we have for you, we put them in the 4 corners, so it wouldn't take 2 hours for everybody to get out of here. We have the intent to participate form ready. If you're ready to fill it out tonight, you can do that and leave it with us this evening. One last thing, if you do have questions, and there's half sheets on the table, if you want to write down the question and just leave them on the table and leave the sign-in sheets on the table, we'll clean it all up. We're going to put on our district website a quick link to College Credit Plus with the answers to the questions that you have. Other than that, we can't thank you enough for coming tonight and for being so involved in your student so much.